What's happening, people? I'm joined by Luke from Not in the My Lifetime City fan channel. And here is your combined 11 video, Tottenham versus Manchester City. This should be a good one. Some big players in particular, those for Man City. So it'll be interesting to see how many Spurs players get in this team and what us both think. And as a Spurs fan myself and Luke is a City fan, it'll be interesting to see how many differences, if any, there actually are. Luke, thank you very much for coming on. Firstly and most importantly, how you're doing, and really grateful for your time. But also, which is really important as well, where can people, just tell people a little bit about, you and, the channel and what you do.
Yeah, well, so obviously anyone who's watched the last of the preview, I'm in a different location. I'm actually in Stockport, but obviously I'm going to the game against Chelsea tomorrow, with Women's Super League tomorrow. So I know I'm playing you guys tomorrow, but I thought I want to go and see the women's game. So I thought, we can't really go both. Sadly, it's a shame, but unfortunately, one. But yeah, so I'm in a hotel, so which was a different location the last time before I start. But yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. Yeah. Thankfully, when it comes to trains, obviously, it's pretty simple now compared to what it was before. I can sort of get about 2 hours or something, or 3 hours. I'm here from where I am anyway, so it's pretty good. So, feeling good, a good day. Got new shirts. That was quite nice. Obviously, from the shop today was quite good. And yeah, no, I'm feeling good. Obviously, I think obviously I know I've done a preview on my own channel. Obviously, I've been a bit busy the last week, but I'm going to sort of do a little review in the week. I'll probably obviously if you're free, you can feel to come online and chat with us about the
Yeah,
game.
that's all right. I'd love to.
I'll obviously message you anyway about timings,
Thank
that kind
you.
of stuff. But yeah, that'll be good to get you on and have a chat about that. But yeah, no, it's good. Obviously everyone wants to sort of check out any more City content, NIML Pod on YouTube as well, where we do a lot of reviews. It's not necessarily as much as daily content as only when obviously is availability, and obviously I work a job myself, so I've got to sort of do that because everything else. As I did a little bit of YouTube over time while college, university, people doing other stuff, but this is my first proper channel I'm doing now. So try and manage that with work isn't easy. I'm sure yourself, Harry, you'll find it yourself at some point when you start doing it. It's
Indeed.
managing stuff, but you still do it, for the love of doing it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm someone that's not very good at saying like no to something. So I do 4 days at college, 3 at work, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I record this here. And then I think, actually, hang on, yeah, does this fit? So
I remember doing
no,
that.
don't get
I
wrong.
remember it. I'm 25, 26 now. I mean, I felt, trust me, honestly, I remember I felt old now, here and now, obviously, because it used to be me talking to people older than me. So
Yeah,
eventually, you kind
yeah,
of get to the point where, like, okay, I'm that age now. Oh, God. You get there eventually.
goes quick. I mean,
It does.
I have the flu right now, and I feel so much better. So it's the latter end of the flu, luckily, but it's not a good thing to have it, and I wouldn't want it at all. Don't get it wrong, but a positive is that I'm off work. Sadly, don't get paid, but I am off work, so that means I can crack through with some of the channel stuff, and it
Yeah,
feels nice to
yeah,
catch up when you feel like it. So that's good. I feel a little
absolutely.
bit better now. So, and I feel great when we talk about football. I tell you that, not necessarily watching Tottenham in the league at home, especially, but I still enjoy talking about them. But thank you very much, everyone, for coming in. And I did sit down with Luke for, if you're looking for something more in depth, more, I suppose, relevant to the game, do check out the opposition preview available on YouTube and all major podcast platforms in the UK and around the world. So please do check that out. This is purely based just generally on combined 11, but it's still relevant. So, Luke, start with you if you don't mind, because we both done 2 different teams. One that is fit players only, so no injured or suspended players, and then one with everyone available, both squads are available, which would be a dream for both Pep Guardiola and Thomas Frank. So here's your one that's current, it's relevant because it's just players that are fit. So talk through your City and Tottenham combined 11. First one.
Yeah, right. So to Spurs fans of your audience, this isn't me taking the piss out of Tottenham. I do like some of your players, I do, but I'm going off current form and players obviously available. I'm sure Spurs fans probably agree with me. Yes, probably on this team probably more than they would disagree with me on this one. But yep, so I'll go for it. Obviously, some of the keepers. I think Vicario for me started off really well, but he's been making a lot more mistakes this season than he was in previous years. I don't think he's a bad keeper, but I like Vicario, but when you compare 2 Italian goalkeepers, you can tell who's the best keeper out of both of them are. And Donnarumma is obviously the number one for Italy, and Vicario is second, isn't he? I think he's second behind him, isn't he? I think in the Italian team. Well, either him or someone else. I think it's Carnesecchi, Vicario. Yes, I've got 3 goalkeepers actually in Italy.
Yeah, Vicario never plays really for Italy.
So it's Carnesecchi, and I think it's Donnarumma, and I think them two, which obviously best keeper in the world the last couple of years. It makes sense, but yeah. So Donnarumma's in goal. Now I would have gone Porro for Nunes. Obviously Nunes has been playing very well this season, probably one of the best right backs in the league this season. But I think Porro's been, I think it's a better all round player for me out of the 2 when they're fit. But Obviously, if Porro's not fit, I've gone for Nunes. I think I like Jed Spence, I do, but I think this is obviously his first proper season where he's properly got going. But I think he's been a bit hit and miss himself recently. He hasn't really been like consistent. Not saying he's a bad player. I think he'll get better for Tottenham. But again, I think Nunes has probably been a more consistent player when he's played the season, getting goals and assists and that from out wide and on the right. So that's why I've gone for Nunes. Now, defence, usually I would go Diaz. Obviously, my other team went Diaz Vardio. That's who I would go with, obviously, if they're both fit. But I decided to go with, to be fair, even probably just as good a good back two of Gahey and Van der Ven. I mean, that would be an unbelievable. If you had that defence of Gahey at Tottenham, you'd be a lot more happy. Well, obviously Romero's good as well, by the way. I know Romero's good as well, but I'm going off. I think Romero at times, especially he's been like, is he captain still of the Spurs still?
Yeah, Romero is still captain. Yeah, he's done a good job as captain, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, he has done. I think sometimes he can be a little bit aggressive. I get Argentinian.
Yes, definitely.
Aggression.
A bit rash,
I mean,
yeah.
again, we had Zabaleta, we had Aguero, we had Otamendi, with other Argentinian players. That's what you get with Argentinian players, and I love them. I love Argentinian players. I do, especially at City. It's a massive City fan base, Argentina, like that. So it's fine, but I think with like Gahey, for me, he's probably been the more consistent player probably last year or so. I think for Palace, especially in City, obviously played one game, but in that one game, you saw already how impressive he's going to be. Them long balls over the top to someone like Semenyo. Again, I think that's probably where people would disagree with me. I think that's fine. I understand that, but I think Husnov for me has been a brilliant young player, but he's still a young player that's still developing in the game. I think he will get to be one of the best centre backs in the league in a couple of years' time. But I'm not someone who overglazes players. I kind of give them think that he's got things he's got to work on. Give him a couple of years. But as a player who's playing his first full season in English football after joining last season in a team that was inconsistent, he did bloody well against Osimhen on Wednesday in the Champions League. So I'm going with them. I'm a big Van der Ven fan. I love Mickey Van der Ven. I think he's absolutely fantastic. I think he reminds me a lot of a more pacier version of Van Dijk was that's like Celtic. I remember Van Dijk went to Southampton, or I think it was in 2015. You saw like a colossal player. I mean, I know Celtic, he was good at Celtic, but it was the Scottish League. No one really knew obviously who he was really, but then he went to Southampton under Ronald Koeman and then instantly became one of the best centre backs in the league that season. And obviously went up to Liverpool on the Klopp, got even better, best in the world. Van der Ven for me has that potential to be that kind of player. I think he's fantastic. I think him and Romero for me are probably the most underrated centre back pairing in the league. When they're both on it, honestly, Tottenham have got a good defence capable there. It's just I think with you guys, it's just the style of play needs to be correct in terms of getting the ball from defence to attack. You aren't far away at all. I think a couple players here and there maybe, but that's why I think for me with Spurs, right, it's not necessarily a full rebuild. It's kind of like a players in, players out kind of thing. I think also obviously injuries don't help either, but yeah, I think for me Van der Ven's fantastic, and obviously I like Udogie as well, but I think O'Reilly's probably been more consistent this season out of him. And I mean, I was going to say Nori, but he's been playing a couple of games. He hasn't really played enough games for me to sort of say he should be playing now. O'Reilly's probably England's best left back right now in current form. Like I know there's Lewis Hall, but if I'm being real at the moment, current form, I think Tuchel would probably pick Nico Riley at left back for the World Cup right now. Then he would probably pick Lewis Skelly, who's been in and out of the team and quite poor this season, and Luke Shaw, who's been decent, but it's Luke Shaw at this point. It's just that's probably for another video about England. That's a whole different stream about England because that could be a whole 5-hour podcast discussing what you go through at the World Cup. Because honestly, the amount of players we've got is ridiculous.
Could be.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
that would be a good one. Yeah, that's the backline goalkeeper. Again, if people want to obviously disagree with me, that's pretty fine. It's all down to like little things here and there. I think it's a massive difference what people will go with usually. But the midfield's quite simple. I think Palhinha has been a good start, then obviously kind of a bit hit and miss recently. I wouldn't say he's been terrible. I don't think he's been outstanding the whole season either. He's been a bit hit and miss himself. For me, if Madison was fit, I would have played him instead of Bernardo Silva in this team. If he obviously can't, I think Madison probably been good this year if he was fit. But again, he obviously ACL injury. Obviously, it's not meniscus, so it's not a long. It's like a full cruciate tear and rupture because that's one of the worst ones you could possibly get. So, I think I've been watching his logs anyway, Madison. So I know obviously he's been on the way back, which is good to see him on the way back. I like him personally. I think he's a good player, Madison. I rate him very highly, but Yeah, for me, the midfield is what I go. I know people will probably say why not Reinders and that, but Reinders for me at the moment, and he's not been terrible. I think he's been really good. But if I'm going on the form and the players that I would go with from midfield tomorrow, that's what I'd go with. Because you've got a good balance, you've got a good defensive midfielder who holds the ball up, but Arlo Silva can help him out in terms of running around the pitch, and Sharky's your creative outlet who can will only get better and better. By the way, it'll get more discipline, it'll get more in terms of get behind the right pass, but technical ability, probably one of the best, maybe the best in the league because of what you can do on the ball. Again, that's probably quite a big statement to make. Fair enough, but I'm just going off what I've seen so far. I mean, there aren't many players like him in the league, maybe even near him in the league. So yeah, that's what I'll go with midfield. And the attack, well, again, the Tottenham players. I mean, it's a weird one. I look at Tottenham and I think Odebear's a good player, but again, he's very young. Still got a lot of still things to work on. And obviously, you've got Jerry Simmons, who again I like Jerry Simmons, but I think he's still a bit inconsistent, still getting there, still a bit of time. And I think Solanke and Kolo Muani have been in and out of the team, so striker's been a hit and miss for you. So I just think for the moment, I think this is probably it's going to sound it's very City generic and City based, but I'm going off kind of what current form it is right now. Obviously, if Spurs are doing a lot better, I'll probably put a few couple more Spurs players in there, but I can't just put the Frankfurt game as a right. He's going in there. That's one game. You've got to see it.
Yeah.
If you win tomorrow, it might change. But I think Tottenham got to do a lot better over a longer period of time to get players in this team on a more consistent level. But yeah, Mamouche, Haaland, Semenyo. If Doku was fit, it'd been Doku instead of Haaland. Sorry, Mamouche. Sorry, but that's what I'm going right now. Yeah, team.
Luke, firstly, thank you for your honesty. And secondly, thank you for explaining very well there. As a Spurs fan, I'd love to sit here and challenge you, but the reality is you're second in the Premier League table in more competitions than us, and we're 14th in the Premier League table. You're looking ahead in the table where you want to get to. We're looking behind and worrying,
Yeah.
we don't want to fall behind. And look, West Ham are winning now at the time recorded. I don't know where it end, but I'll be honest with you, people can work out what time it's been recorded. That's fine. But yeah, West Ham are 2-0 up at half time against Chelsea. That's huge because all of a sudden they're 5 points within Tottenham, and the games we've got coming up, I can't see us getting, let's say, 5 points in the next 4. I can see West Ham getting that after this game, and things like that are concerning. But again, like I said, love to challenge you, but also with the injured players, I think it's difficult to put too many Spurs players in there. Really difficult. So, Luke, thank you very much. You come with 10 City players and 1 Spurs player, the one being Mickey van der Ven. I think that's very reasonable. I think Romero's justified to get in there. But at the same time, Mark Gahey, again, he feels wrong to not have him in there. And that's the
A
same
hard
issue
one.
I had.
It's a hard one because if I put a mirror in there as well, it'd be fine. Like again, people will say, "Oh, it's a bit harsh on Husnov." Well, this is the thing, like that. The centre backs mirror harder. Like if Diaz and Vardy were fit, I'm sorry, they're both going to get in there, both of them, because I think both Vardio's are probably the better all round player than Van de Ven, which might sound a bit mad, but Vardio's been doing it probably at a UCL level in the last couple of years now, where he's been sort of getting better and better and better. I think Vardio will be a team year level player at some point. I think he'll be up there with probably better than Saliba and Gabriel at some point, which sounds quite ambitious. But when you watch Oscar Vardio, like I do, and maybe for the World Cup to Croatia, you can see the ability that he's got. That he'll be up there with the very best of defenders in the world for in a year or two. Again, injury sadly ruined the season, which is a real shame because he was playing really, really well with Diaz and Donnarumma behind him. But yeah, I think centre back's definitely one that I think that you could probably contest and sort of have a chat with. But yeah, that's what I'm going with anyway.
Thank you very much. Then on to my team. Of course, there's going to be a little bit more Spurs representation as a Spurs fan. I try to remain as reasonable as possible. So I read out my team, explain my thinking.
Yep.
So Donnarumma in goal, Spence right back, cheat the code here slightly, Van der Ven left back, so I can have Romero Gay as the centre back. See what I've done there. Then midfield, I've gone with Rodri, Simmons, and Paulinho, and then no doubt Cherky, Haaland, and Semenya up top. So yeah, there's definitely more Spurs players in there. And up until a couple of weeks ago, because I do combined 11s regularly, because like header coming up. So I've already done this season the Spurs and City one, and O'Reilly's been in there all season. That's the first thing I want to highlight. I think you're right to say he's very, very consistent, and it feels harsh to put him in here. I mean, you can tell I put no Spurs left back. Doggy's just come back and had a good couple of games, but it's not enough to judge him on. But for me, it would have meant I made myself a decision. I was like, right, I want Gay, I want Romero, and I want Van der Ven. I felt right to put all three in and not leave one out. So it was either go to back three or do it this way. So I decided to do it this way. And Nunes, I know, obviously, he's just come back from injury. I haven't seen enough of him this season, if I'm honest with you, to put him in there, or arguably not to put him in there as well, is because I haven't seen him a lot. It's harsh as well. So I've gone with Jed Spence, who for me has been really good for Tottenham this year in different positions. So again, that felt right to put him in. I mean, I like Vicario. I appreciate what he's done. I think Tottenham can and probably should do better, let's say from the summer, in terms of who we bring in as a goalkeeper other than Vicario. But Donnarumma, I think, is world class, no doubt. Vicario is a decent goalkeeper. He's your average to decent goalkeeper, whereas Donnarumma is your quality to world class goalkeeper. That's the different brackets I put them in. So that's for me is where I would say is the easiest decision. That and probably the striker position. So yeah, that's my thinking with the back line, which is slightly more Spurs dominated. I think City have had a few problems defensively. I think that will change with the likes of Gay coming in. Then Rodri, of course, Ballon d'Or winner to get in there, and it feels very harsh. I was thinking harsh to leave Reinders out, but also other players such as Bernardo Silva. Paulinho, I'll go as far as saying, has been Tottenham's probably joint best player this year. I mean, it's got to the point now where we're playing him right centre back. He's been that reliable and filled that many holes in the Spurs back line. For me, he's been exceptional. And again, where I talk about bias, even though I don't mean to, this is where it does come into it. Spurs haven't had a defensive midfielder for about 4 years. So now we've got one. It feels so good and you appreciate them so much. So, in reality, whereas you often have a defensive midfielder. So you're more used to it. Whereas for us, it's a new thing. So we appreciate it maybe a little bit more. So that's what I'd say about that. And Xavi Simons, for me, it's literally 50-50. It literally was a toss of the coin, him and Bernardo Silva. I think Silva's more consistent, but I think Xavi, when he's playing well, can maybe achieve a little bit more than Silva. So that's why I put him in here. But again, incredibly difficult. I mean, I think it depends what club you support on that decision. But I have gone with an all-City front line. Ryan Cherky's really impressed me. I just think when he's switches it on, which he does so regularly, he's capable of so much. He's a flair player. I do think he can be definitely consistent. But again, we talk about ceiling. He has an incredibly high ceiling. I mean, listen, Spurs' striker position, Richarlison's injured, so you can't pick him. But, some would say, oh, could you, Tell's been good, etc. Solanke I really like, but they don't get near Haaland in reality. Haaland is literally like, he's a robot. He's guaranteed goals, guaranteed threat, and you have to have him in any team, any combined 11. I mean that. There's not one combined 11 where Haaland doesn't get in there. Semenya as well, no secret. Frank said it. Spurs tried to sign him. That's pure honesty. You don't often get that too often from a manager, but I appreciate that honesty. And, having said that, I don't think it makes Spurs an ambitious club for trying. I think it makes us an ambitious club if we sign him. So I would push back on Frank and the Tottenham board on that. Having said that, though, Semenya is a fantastic player, so he has to get in this team. Luke, is there anything there you want to challenge me on? Of course, there's a lot of Spurs players and, probably a lot considering where Spurs are in the league as well.
Yeah, I mean, I get with Spence, I do. I think because this is the thing, like Spence and Nuno, I think I've probably I reckon either on the same sort of like level or that. That's a hard one that because you could argue one player or the other, and the people will say what but people probably won't watch Spence much the would Nuno because Nuno obviously plays a lot more games than Spence will obviously because of playing a lot more competitions, but. I get why you put him in there. I think the defense, not so Thomas is a centre back and left, but I get why you've had to do that because obviously Romero is a great centre back as well. So is Van der Ven. It's definitely one of them ones where like O'Reilly probably has been unfairly left out there, which is what it is. I mean, I would test you on that, but I get why with it being Spurs, like you leaving like Romero out or Van der Ven out, both one of them out, it's hard. Like I think I'll ask you this though: if Vardio and Diaz were both fit, would they get in this team? That's the question.
See, that's the thing. You'll find out that in a minute. But I will. What just
Okay,
will say though is,
fair enough.
I'll hit. Although no, it's I won't answer it. But what I will say is I really like Guardiola in particular as well. I will concede. I think he's excellent at left back, excellent at centre back. I think he's fantastic. So I think he's a good player. Two really good players. So yeah, you'll find out in just a second. But Luke, thank you.
I think the midfield. I think Simmons. I'm like because. He's been good recently, but I think over the course of the season, I'm like, I don't think I put him in this team just yet. Not saying he ain't good enough, by the way. I think he's a good player, but I think
hasn't been consistent enough.
I mean, I'm not putting Foden in this team, by the way. I know people will have a go at me, for that, but if it was Foden in December, January, sure. Yeah, sure. But Foden recently just has been off the boil, not the player that he was in the early parts of the season. If Foden was playing, I probably would put Foden in this team and Cherky on the wing, but I'm just going off obviously what I'm sort of seeing. I think I would have probably put Bernardo Silva over Sam Simmons for me. That's what I'm going to contest. Palhinha, I'll give you that one. I think Palhinha's been impressive this season. I think he has been impressive, so I probably would give that one. I think if I could change two things, it would probably be Nunes at right back and Bernardo Silva for Xavi Simmons. But I think the rest of the team's I think perfectly fine. I know people will probably wonder why you could put O'Reilly at left back. That's a really it all depends obviously on what you prefer. But yeah, I think
Mm.
most of that I agree with.
Thank you, Luke. I can definitely concede one of the two. I'll concede that, yeah, Bernardo Silva and Simmons again. Although I think, Simmons has been better in the last kind of 6 weeks, maybe even if you compare the two. But Silva has been more consistent across the season. So yeah, I'd absolutely happily concede that one. But here is your team then, Luke, with everyone available, which
Yeah,
would be nice. You can share that. I can share that if we did have everyone available. So, please do
yeah.
read it out and talk us through your changes. That's all right. We know, of course, the reason why you chose the players that are in the previous team, but talk through the changes.
Yeah, so obviously Van der Ven's out the team, but this is just preference. I think Van der Ven's a great centre back, but I think the two that are there now are probably the best two out of the 4 or 5, 6 that are available, or 7 available out of both teams combined. I think Ruben Diaz is just a leader. He's leads by example. Him and Donnarumma are like Donnarumma has made Ruben Diaz a better centre back because he's able to sort of know he's got someone behind him who can bark orders to him and really have a go at him if he ain't doing well. Got two shouters in the squad, which makes Vardiel better, makes him more disciplined to sort of watch where he's going, which is why I know we haven't been perfect, but I think we've been a lot better this season in some games. Like clean sheets are definitely a lot more consistent. Wouldn't say we're or every game consistent, but I think it's definitely helped with having a keeper like Donnarumma to sort of marshal the battle. Like, even Trafford, I think, has been good as well. Like, I think Trafford's quite a young keeper, but he's definitely come in and done a good job when called upon. I mean, Leverkusen at home wasn't great, and Tottenham at home wasn't great, but I wouldn't say that's his fault. I think that's just the fact that when we played you at the start of the season, we were still a new team with new players. Well, I mean, Wolves away was Wolves away. I'm not being horrible here, but Wolves are just not that good of a team. They've done well recently in the last month or so, but obviously today, I lost Bournemouth at home 2-0 today. I was trying to record, and so they're a very hit and miss team, Wolves. So, and that's not, I can't really judge a whole team on a 4-0 win at Molineux. I can't. That's just like, I think Tottenham as well, just I think were playing well at the time. And it's very easy to sort of criticise the entire team, say, City team wasn't good, but this is probably a more effective game now, and where everyone probably is now. Was it in February? And obviously tomorrow. Now, obviously, at the time of the game tomorrow. I just think that with where we how far we've come, obviously since then. I know we lost like to Blackburn, Glimpse, and United terribly, but I think that's what happens when you build a new team. When a new team's being built and established with other players, and like the spine there we've got of Donnarumma, Ruben Diaz, Vardiol, Rodri, and Haaland is a fantastic spine. And obviously Shirky there as well. You can put him behind as well as a 10. That's the kind of spine that you can sort of establish and build over a number of years to be like a Champions League winning sort of spine. Again, people might think I'm beginning over the top there, but I think when you've got the best keeper in the world, centre backs, you can argue with Saliba, Gabriel, and them and you could have a debate on that. Sure, Rodri's better than Rice. I'm not having any of it. People will say, right, no, Rice is not Rodri. Rice is not that kind of. It's not the same player as Rodri. Let's not do this to do this. Rice is a good player. I'm saying he's not. But when Arsenal fans they do this too much, they overglaze too much of certain players when actually letting these guys cook and get better. Rice is a fantastic player. I rate him very, very highly. I want him at City with Rodri when we were linked with him, but he went to Arsenal. Fair enough. He hasn't won anything yet. Touch wood. Not anything yet. But Rodri's he's a Ballon d'Or winner. He's been Team of the Year a number of times. Won treble with us, UCL in the final. That's just how it is. And then obviously Haaland up front. Look, Haaland up front. Dortmund, whatever. He's been last month or so not the best, but with Haaland, he could easily match that and get better and better and score a number of goals to make up for that missed period of time anyway. So, and the rest of the team is like Doku left wing. Doku's been very good season, very hit and miss with injuries, but yeah, I think looking at the team it changes here and there, but it's just what I would go with overall. And Porro, by the way, I do rate. Obviously, used to be our player, but Porro for me is better one right back than Nunes. That's why Porro's in.
Lovely. Thank you, Luke, very much. Again, the one Spurs player, but instead of Van der Ven, it is Pedro Porro. Thank you very much. He'd be my combined team then if everyone was available. So let's read it out. Donnarumma in goal, right back Pedro Porro, left back, sorry if I say his name wrong, Jose Guardiola, then Romero and Van der Ven as the centre backs. Then in midfield, Rodri, Madison, Kulusevski, and an attack still hasn't changed. Cherky, Haaland, and Semenya. So let me talk you through my thinking. So if we go to the backline, Porro, he's currently injured. I really like Porro. A lot of Spurs fans are now at a point where they, I'll be honest with you, they don't like him and they want to move him on. But I think it's because he plays every game, and I believe it's suffering from fatigue. He's got injured from being overplayed. It's as simple as that. And last year he was overplayed and didn't get injured. We got away with it. This year we haven't got away with it. So it's used against him, right? Because he makes similar mistakes, most weeks. I get that's frustrating. And of course, I find it frustrating, but I can tell myself that that's because he's playing every game. He's still looking. He's still trying. Gives 110%. Really good offensive player. So for me, he comes in to that side at the expense of Jed Spencer. I really like, but sometimes I think you've got to look at the wider picture and what Porro can bring going forward. Joseph Guardiola, I think, is a fantastic player. Croatian, I like him for club and country, by the way, but can play centre back, can play left back, really versatile. If it doesn't work, they don't deal with a certain player this team, then Van der Ven and Guardiola can just swap, without any problems. That's what I really like. So, no, I really highly rate him. So for me, it was an absolute no-brainer to get him in this team. It is at the expense of Mark Gay. It was very harsh as well on Ruben Dias. So it's one of those that is incredibly tough. And this is going to be a strong bench, let me tell you that. Very strong bench. But the difficult thing about this combined 11 is it depends on the team you're playing. There's some occasions I'm thinking in Europe where maybe you want Diaz. There's some occasions where you wouldn't, for other players as well. So it really depends on the opponent. Midfield, fairly confident of that. Again, very harsh on Reinders, Bernardo Silva, players like that. Even the likes of Foden has impressed at times this year, which you rightly do mention. Don't completely discount him. Rodri, of course, you want him, Ballon winner, no doubt. I mean, he's been unlucky, of course, with injuries of late. For me, Kulusevski, I would say, is my most confident Spurs pick out of them all because when he was fit, he's one of Tottenham's best players. I mean, he's hurt you quite a few times, in particular at the Etihad. I think what he's capable of, whether it be in the 10 on the right-hand side, deeper in the 8, I think is really scary. So Kulusevski, I honestly really like. I'd say, go as far as saying he's probably my favourite Spurs player. If he had pace, I think he'd be incredible. Madison, for me, what I will say on this one, right, is if Madison was fit, this will sound crazy, but if he was playing right now for Spurs, he probably wouldn't be in this team. He's one of those players that you love when he plays really well, but he plays well once every 3 or 4 games. So that's reality. Someone like Bernardo Silva, if I'm honest with you, if they both were playing for clubs right now, it would be Silva in there. But the fact now Tottenham really miss creativity, really miss goals, created chances. So right now I'm craving Madison, if that makes sense. But when he's back, it will be a completely different scenario. He plays well in big games, don't get it wrong, and in some big games anyway, but he's very hit and miss. I would say across the season, Madison plays well for about 40% being kind of games. That's the reality. With Silva, you've got him at 80, 90% minimum. So again, this pick, I stand with it for now, based on I think Madison will come in and make a huge difference to Spurs. But again, it's incredibly harsh with Silva. I know this answer will be different. Let's say the reverse fixture was in May, completely different answer. I think it would be Silva in this team. So again, I'm kind of conceded that one already, having thought about it. And that front line again is I'm confident to keep it the same. I like Kudus, like Odebear in different ways, but I don't think they get in this team. And I'm very confident with Cherky, Haaland, and Semenya. Luke, anything you want me to, anything you want to challenge me on? I recognise that there are a lot of strong players that would be on this bench rather than in the team that feel incredibly harsh on lots of individuals.
Yeah, I think for me, I do think that if I'm probably putting Diaz over Romero. I'm arguing that, and I know people will be a bit people will be thinking really Ruben Diaz when he's really on it is so underrated because I think his timing of tackles, he's not really someone that gets red cards or gets sent on. Romero gets quite a lot of yellow cards, doesn't he? I'm guessing for you guys. I mean, Diaz hasn't really got that sort of same aggression. He's a bit more composed and probably a little bit more like a leader in that regard. Again, I'm not sort of saying he's not a leader. Of course, he's captain for you, but that's just kind of my own sort of perspective. I think I probably would have Van der Ven and Vardiol has where they are right now. And I think that them two linking up and swapping over would be just ridiculously insane. And that's just like you got one who's rapid, one who's also quick as well. I can score long shots. Well, actually, both of them score long shots. It's like it's usually the same player, pretty much. Like just cheat code at that point, that left hand side. That's just, I mean, yeah, I think Diaz Romero. That's probably what I'm going to contest in terms of centre backs. What I'm going to contest. The midfield, I'm probably putting Bernardo over Madison, but Madison, I get why you put him in there.
That's fair.
Kulusevski, I'm going to keep in there. I think Kulusevski is a fantastic player that I do, again, a number of times because it's been a thorn in our side, along with Youngman Son, because again, every time, well, he's not here anymore, hallelujah, although I'm sure a bit of a player, well, actually, Johnson's gone, right, that's one, so it's Palhinha now, so we're getting there in terms of players that aren't going to, well, I say this now, but I'm sure someone tomorrow will turn up now and be the next cursed player for us, but like Mane and Salah of Liverpool and that. But no, I think Kulusevski for me is a very underrated player because I think he's just so technically gifted and so brilliant at what he does on the pitch. Like you've missed him a lot this season, massively. I think you missed him more than Madison. To be fair, like Madison's been obviously
Yeah, I
a
agree with
miss
that.
too, but Kulusevski just as a winger to a midfielder to eight, so he's like the Swedish Phil Foden kind of player. Like I wouldn't say like maybe he's technically gifted on the ball, but just on the ball, passing, shooting. I think I'll just a good all round player, which is what you need in the squad. And yeah, the front three, I think, yeah. I mean, the front three, you could do like like Shirk. I mean, I ain't putting Savinho in there. Like even if Savinho was fit, Savinho at times it just really does screw around a lot of the times. Like
I think
he's got a lot.
Kudos, right? They both, when they're up here, are
Yeah.
good, but they just like not consistent. That's the problem.
That's the problem. Yeah. So Kudus for me is a fantastic player. At West Ham, he was brilliant. At Ajax, he was brilliant. I think for you, he's been decent this season as well. I wouldn't say he's been. I think he's been good this season. I wouldn't say he's been unbelievable. I think he's been pretty good.
Yeah,
from
agree with that.
what I know him to be.
Even at West
But again,
Ham,
obviously,
first season he was really good, but second season it wasn't quite as much. But West Ham
I think
struggled as a team.
for me, it's a pick. Isn't Kudus also Ghanaian? Isn't he as well?
Yes.
Yes. So compare him to Semenyo. Now, Semenyo for me, I know is a different kind of player, but Semenyo is a lot more, I think, more physical. Also, I think
Gotcha.
Semenyo's a lot more just, he's very cool, calm, and collected, on the ball, and also a better finisher, I'd say, than Kudus, to be fair. I mean, as
He's just
proven
a better player. It's just not great, really.
I can see why you wanted him as well. I mean, I can't blame you. Like Semenyo, I know he's a Bournemouth player, but again, look at Nathan Ake. Nathan Ake came from Bournemouth. But just remember, right? Ake was loved so much by Bournemouth fans, and they wished him. And when we went to City, I say he got better of us, going to be a better player for us. Obviously, now obviously not the team, but that's because obviously he's getting older, and obviously his injury record isn't the best. But Semenyo's the same kind of player that can sort of he's a not necessarily from a big club, but he's come from a club that's done decently well, and now he's going to get better and better playing for a bigger team in the Champions League and that. So. Yeah, I think the front three, I think is perfectly. Yeah, I agree with that. But I think then your attackers to me aren't consistent enough. And I don't care if they score tomorrow and beat you tomorrow. It doesn't change anything. Like a one-off game doesn't change the narrative of your attack. Like your attack has still got issues. It needs to be more consistency. I don't care if you're 4-0 tomorrow. It doesn't mean your attack's elite again. Like as you know, like you're beating City a number of times over the years. Yet it doesn't mean that you're back. Like it's like well done, you beat City. It's like United, well done, you beat us. Well done. Do it over a season. No,
yeah, back it up as well. Yeah,
exactly. So your attack for me is more a case of maybe to get a couple of players in or players out, maybe a bit more quality in there. I think someone like Mbuma would have been great for you. If you had got Mbuma over United, that'd been. I mean, Mbuma and Kudus would have been unbelievable as a wing pairing. I think, but again, United. I don't know why. I don't know why he's on United. Him and Cunha. I think Cunha and Mbuma for you would have been exactly what you needed. That team, but again, football and heritage. I mean, I'm sorry, right? Players have got something. United can be saved. I don't care they beat us 2-0, Arsenal 3-2. United for me, long term, are just a club that's screwed. It's just, yeah, that's another rant for another day. But to the team, yeah, that's fair enough.
Luke, thank you. And I know United are trying to save money, but I still think they're, as well as this, all about the history, but also the money. I think players are money motivated, and we have an outdated wage structure, which is, very similar to Everton's. If we're being honest with you, that kind of level at Spurs, it's not a top 8 wage structure. It's literally factually isn't, and that for me is, of course, you want low wages because it doesn't cost the club, etc. But you can't retain or attract top players in this modern era if you don't play them what they think they deserve. That's the reality. And
Exactly.
Van der Ven, right? I'm not saying he's money motivated. I don't accuse anyone of being necessarily solely anyway, focused being on money motivated. But if you say to Van Ven, right, I don't know, he's on at Tottenham, but let's just make it up here, 90 grand a week at Tottenham, or, you go to Liverpool for 270 grand a week. I mean, that's just a big factor, isn't it? When he makes a decision, and already that means that he's halfway going to Liverpool in my argument. So the Spurs lose that battle because we don't respect those players, but I could go on about that for ages. But look, thank you very much for your 2 teams there. I've given my 2. Really appreciate your time as well. Where can people follow yourself personally, but also the channel on all social media?
Of course, yes. So my Twitter is at SCitizen284. If you want to follow me, a City fan, if you're a Tottenham fan, feel free. You don't have to. I'm mostly on there as more City chat, but also a bit of a football chat every now and again. Wouldn't say I'm on there all the time, but Twitter's a bit more is a bit more like up and down now as it was. I think I'm more using it more for news now than anything else, but I do chat every now and again about stuff. Twitter and IML Pod if you want to follow the podcast on there. It's more just to sort of show streams on every now and again and chat and do an occasional interaction every now and again. But what we're mainly more consistent on YouTube. Obviously, the links there. I can point it properly. On YouTube, put NIML in there, and it'll be right there. So we're on the road to 1.4k at the moment, trying to get to 2k long term. I'm sure we'll get there at some point, but it's all about enjoyment, all about the community, getting involved and sort of having a good time on that aspect of football. And so trying to expand a bit more into like wider like European football and league football as well. Sort of trying to cover a bit more stuff as well. So lots to look forward to coming this year for sure.
Great stuff, people. Please do check that out. And again, Luke, I'm saying this the second time this week. Thank you very much. Or second time in 24 hours as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, right.
People missed it. They want something more in depth. They want to know about your thoughts on City's transfer window season so far, your thoughts on Thomas Frank Tottenham, and our conversation as well, generally about the game and so much more. Please check out the opposition preview that is on my YouTube channel on YouTube, of course. Literally names on the tin, or on all major podcast platforms available there. And also you've got the footage as well on the all major podcast platforms, as well as the audio. So whatever you prefer, listening and watching, you can do them both. So let me know what you thought of that episode and this one, of course, the combined 11. Who do you agree with more? I mean, do you get involved, and what would yours be? What changes do you make as well? But enjoy the game this weekend. Thank you very much, Luke, for your time, and thank you very much to everyone. Until next time.